It's 20,000 to 80,000 on fire jobs. I mean, even the most modest fire job is five figures.
Welcome to Artemis Insights. This program features operators and practitioners discussing what actually works under real-world conditions, with a focus on real outcomes. Today's conversation centers on fire and odor restoration, one of the most technically demanding and financially consequential services in property damage mitigation. Fire losses create immediate pressure, complex contamination challenges, and high expectations from homeowners and adjusters alike. How those early decisions are made often determines both the technical success of the job and its profitability. Joining me for this discussion is Clay Hernandez, Director of Technical Sales and Training at Artemis Biosolutions. Clay works directly with restoration teams in the field, helping translate technical principles into processes that hold up under real-world conditions. Our guest today is Bob Jordan, a restoration operator who has built a disciplined, repeatable approach to fire and odor mitigation. Bob is a PureClean owner serving the Seattle-Tacoma region. His company is now in its 10th year of operation. Today's discussion draws directly from Bob's work on fire and odor restoration, with an emphasis on technical efficiency, operational discipline, and how restoration companies can deliver better outcomes for homeowners while building profitable, scalable businesses. Thanks, Bob. How are you doing today?
Very good, David. Good to be with you. Good to be with you too, Clay.
Good to be with you, sir.
And you're out in Seattle, right?
Sure am.
How about those Seahawks?
Yeah, how about them Seahawks?
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to some good things.
Well, we also have some good things for today's program. You're going to be talking about fire and odor. Now, before we get into the specific services and the profitability that can come from that, why don't you give us a quick overview of the fire and odor services that restoration professionals and remediation professionals can offer?
Sure. So fire and its kissing cousin odor are two, well, if you ever come upon these types of assignments, it's very stressful for the homeowner. It's one thing to have a water loss. It's another thing to have a fire loss. Water losses, like 1 in 60 homes per the statistics nowadays. 1 in 400 homes is going to have a fire event, and half of those are going to be the results of a cooking event. But as long as people want indoor plumbing, indoor heat, they want to cook indoors, there's going to be opportunities for the mitigation industry. Things can go wrong and do go wrong.
Have you seen, Bob, an increase in the demand for these services? Or have you seen a growth in your business and maybe some of the partner businesses that you see?
You know, interestingly enough, about 4 years ago, every time we turned around, there was another fire job, and they were all from different sources. Cookouts, internal, forgot it, electrical, the furnace went bad on one. Every fire we went to was different. But trending is the fire losses have not, well, that 1 year was an anomaly. We don't know what happened, but we will do a handful of fires in any given year. And fire losses are something that any mitigation company wants to do. Now, when I started in the industry, I gave up 2 very good fire jobs because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to deal with them. I didn't know what to do. And when you're looking at a home that's been torched and you don't know what to do, that's a sinking feeling. So that's why we worked overtime to learn and develop systems. And of course, Clay, being one of my mentors in the industry, taught us things that we were able to incorporate. And as we just kept pursuing it, attending courses, keeping our eyes open, talking with other owners, working with chemical suppliers and process-oriented people like Clay, then we finally came up with what we call our 4-phase process for fire mitigation. And of course, odor applies in there as well.
Yeah, before you get into that, hey, Clay, I noticed that a lot of people say that. A lot of people say, hey, I talked with Clay and we developed this process. Do you find that happening a lot?
That's why I'm in this role that I'm in Artemis. I've been using the product for 18 years now, almost 19 years. So I've got a pretty good handle on the products that we carry because I've been on the other side where Bob is for a long time. Something that I wanted to point out when I first got in the business, I came from the construction side of work, of my history. And I swear in the first year that I was with a national restoration company, and I swear on the construction side, once a month, I had a dryer vent fire that was thrown at me to reconstruct. And I just never was like, they happen that much. It was such a surprise to me coming from outside the industry. The static electricity that's produced in dryer vents that aren't maintained, they don't suck out all the lint that builds up in there. But I just remember now that Bob's talking about that 20 years ago when I was like, this happens all the time when I would look at my remediation guys. Sure enough, that's a good source of revenue. Wouldn't think it, but yes.
So back to you, Bob. You talk about those four. You say you broke it down into 4 different components for fire and odor services. Why don't you talk about those?
Okay, well, first of all, kind of let me share that everybody understands in a water loss there, it's $4,000 to $5,000 per loss is a decent average. It's $20,000 to $80,000 on fire jobs. I mean, even the most modest fire job is 5 figures. And if you're involved like Clay in the reconstruction side as well, then a fire loss can be worth $250,000 or more in both mitigation and in reconstruction. And what I'll say is that it's very stressful for the homeowner when there's a fire loss. Likely they're going to have to leave the home. Likely contents are going to be packed out. Minor stovetop fires, flare-ups, soot and odor, moderate fires, localized heat, smoke damage affects some of the structure. And then you go all the way up to the catastrophic losses, involving structural damage, burned rooms. Maybe it started in a garage, burned up the garage. Roof has to be tarped. Outside needs to have board up. It affects the entire structure. And our experience, out here in the Northwest where things are very expensive, is 2/3 of people were underinsured as a result of inflation and cost of goods and supply chain issues that we had. They found themselves with limits now that didn't meet the need when it came time, and we work with people on that as well too. That adds to the stress of a job like this. So all of them take tact and sensitivity when you're working with homeowners. As I shared, we have a 4-phase process.
Yeah. Why don't you walk us through the 4 phases, and we can talk, as you mentioned before, we can talk about each phase and then interweave that with how you can be successful as a provider, right? Yeah.
So our 4 phases, phase 1 we call day 1. So this is the thing we do when we first show up. Phase 2 is demolition. Any demolition that's required. Sometimes you clean, sometimes you demo. Our 3rd phase is surfaces, where we're actually cleaning surfaces. And our 4th phase deals with the volume airspace and cracks and crevices and final disinfecting and deodorizing. So again, the 4 phases: day 1, demolition, surface cleaning, and then volume airspace treatment.
It sounds overwhelming. all four of these services, is it hard to do? How do you get into it? Do you start with learning to do number one? Do you learn all four at once? How do you start to tackle offering these services?
Well, we'll certainly talk about the high level stuff, but I've got this detailed in my book, and anybody can do this. You have to have the right equipment, the right processes, the right chemistry. I describe how to do that. I also do on-site training for organizations, real estate, mitigation franchises, and it's very practical, very hands-on. So I've got 6 items that we consider day one. So the fire assignment comes in, we're called to a fire, we show up. What do you do when you step through the door? So in no order of importance, really, I will share six different things we do. Then I'll talk about I'll call it money matters, things that are, kind of profitable to do. So in any fire loss, insurance is very likely involved. So you have to document it well. We use the DocuSketch system. They also do estimating, floor plans, lots of photographs, and thoroughly document the area. We would remove source materials. So say that the fire is localized. Say that it happened in the kitchen and some cabinets got scorched. Well, we would take the doors off the cabinets, put them in a bag, seal it, put it in a garage. We would probably put containment over the rest of the box if we not able to take it off the wall. But the first rule in odor control is remove the source. So if you have burned materials, you're going to want to remove them. If you have a stove fire and the stove has a bunch of soot and debris, then we get the stove out. We went to an assignment where it was a wood stove, a freestanding wood stove, and it caused a local fire in the home, and the guy had a exercise bench system next to it. It got burned, odors. So we just take it right outside, set it outside, and we'll deal with it later. But you want to remove the source materials. Okay.
It sounds like that sounds like an easy one, right? Find the stuff, take it out. So far, so good.
This is, and anybody can do this. Okay. Third area is thermal fogging. Now, thermal fogging is not just for odor control. I was taught this by John Otero, and thermal fogging is it encapsulates soot odor particles that are in the volume airspace. So we want to thermal fog on the first day. And this is why you want to do a sketch of the entire structure, because at the very least, we're going to thermal fog every room in a fire. It's justified. Fourth thing, again, no order of importance, but initial soot removal. Now, if you have a synthetic fire where plastics burned, which is going to be something that always happens in a larger fire, because there's going to be things in the home that are plastics that were affected. And you get what looks like black cobwebs where the wall meets the ceiling, right in that intersection there, you get these cobwebs. And we call them soot tags. Sometimes they're called smoke tags. And it's the way that condensed synthetic odor particles form in the cool area of the room, which, relatively speaking, is in the corners there. So that has to be removed. And this helps the morale of the homeowner. Because
they see it removed, they get excited, like, oh, okay, something's happening here. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right. And we use these lamb's wool dusters. I call them foxtails. And they're easy to work with. You can get them anywhere. They have an electrostatic property to them, and you just swirl them along. And we actually treat the entire wall. I mean, we will go over the whole wall. We'll go over the ceiling. Went to an assignment one time, Dave, where there was a pretty big synthetic fire, and there was soot tags on both levels of the home, big time. And that's just unhealthy for starters, but it's also discouraging to the homeowner. So this is part of the day one activity. You want to get that out of there.
They can start to see progress. They can see the end is in sight.
That's correct. And then we do corrosion control. Now, in Xactimate, which if you're doing this for insurance, Xactimate being the language of the insurance industry, there's over 100 different line items that start with corrosion control. Now, when you have a fire, there's acidic soot. Any fire, we will do corrosion control at some level. This is where you have a rag and 409, a rag and soap and water in a spray bottle. And what you're doing, you aren't cleaning these items, because we'll do it on appliances, we'll do it on light fixtures, we'll do it on plumbing fixtures. What you're doing is you're removing the acidic soot. Then later, in a later phase, we will do the cleaning of those items. So corrosion control, I listed in my book an easy hours worth of work, and you're billing just over $1,000 for that.
In your book, you show them how to map to those codes, because I would imagine that getting the right codes is really, really critical, right? If you don't map the right codes, you're not going to get compensated for the services you're providing, right?
That's right. I've got a complete estimate in Xactimate shown in the book, so a person can actually read through it and see. Now, their estimate's obviously going to be different. Everyone is. But they'll see the logic of it. And that's profitable. Corrosion control is profitable.
Okay.
And we're protecting property.
And corrosion control is step 5, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And then the sixth and the last one, which is a part of what we do on the first day, is setting equipment. And there's 2 chief pieces of equipment we use. We use a hydroxyl generator, and we use a HEPA air scrubber with a carbon filter. Each level of the home. I did a home one time, it had 3 levels. I put one on each level. The purpose here is air quality. Now, why do we do this on day 1? We do it because the contents are still in the home. The insured is going to have to work with the pack-out team to pack out what's there. Now, pack-out people can wear a respirator. Mitigation people can wear a respirator. Homeowners, they don't do that. They just walk into their home. So we're improving the air quality for them. And it's justified, and rarely do we get pushed. 90% of the time, it just sails right through. Sometimes you got to explain it. Sometimes I'll put a cap on it. For like example, if there was an extraordinary situation and we had to have them there for like 30 days or so, I'll cap it at 3 weeks. Now, so those are the 6 items. Let me give you let me give you a little bit of the finances of this.
Before you get into the finances, I just want to hear from Clay. Clay, what do you think about that? The 6 steps. What's your perspective on the technical steps that he's taking, and where maybe a lot of remediators get it wrong, or where do they trip up?
No, he's dead on. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. I just wanted to add on to a little bit of what he said in case that went over some people's head. But when you're saying you're capping or that you're talking about the adjustment side of it, Bob, need to make sure that people understand when you're talking about not just the Xactimate, but it'll sail right through. That means the adjuster's process of verifying the claims and all the line items in there. Some of them, they're doing their job. They're looking for redundancies. They're looking for duplicate billing. They're looking for justification of what the contractor is doing, the contractor being the restoration contractor. And what he is saying in more detail is, yes, that's justified. No, I need further explanation. That's the adjuster justifying his position of adjusting the claim. And that's when he's saying, usually an experienced adjuster say, yes, that's common operating procedure. Go to the next line item. But some of them, newer or depending on the insurance company and their parameters, they're going to question each line item. And that's where you have to really justify through documentation and IRCRC standards and those type of citations. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is the industry standard. So I just want to elaborate a little bit on what Bob was saying at the end.
That's good. That's good.
Good point. And in the estimates,
you got a thumbs up from Clay Hernandez.
That's my 2 cents.
And that's always a good thing. Well, and when you do list those items out, you want to explain what's going on. So we have what's called F9 notes, and I have examples of all of that in the text. Now, money-wise, thermal fogging, 12 cents per cubic foot. For an 1,800 square foot home, reasonable, with 8-foot ceilings, that's over 14,000 cubic feet. That comes to $1,700. You know how long it takes to thermal fog an entire house? Clay, what? 20 minutes? And then I talked about corrosion control, preventing secondary damage. Secondary damage can occur when things have acidic particles on them. They can discolor, they can pit, and then that has to be replaced. Countertops. If you get to this first, but it has to be done on day one. You can't do it 3 weeks later and call it corrosion control. It's too late. That's why I put it into day one. And just have some pictures of a hand with a rag and a 409 bottle and a sink fixtures, and show one by the dryer and show one on a light fixture, and then list them all. And
so a lot of it is really just being very, very clear and document your process, document everything you're doing so that it helps the adjuster see and validate legitimate work that you're doing. And it's profitable.
The old saying these days, and it's true now more than ever, is if you don't photograph it, it didn't happen. So you want to take the time, and this is the documentation is one of the 6 steps. It was now really quickly, when you set a hydroxyl generator, that bills up here in Seattle at almost $240 a day. An air scrubber is like $90 a day. If I had 2 levels of this for just 1 week, that's $2,300. 2 levels for 2 weeks is $4,600. One time we did do a job, it was a special case, and we were allowed to bill for everything we did. 7 days, there was a paraplegic man involved. There was special circumstances. There was special needs and it took quite a while to get everything out. And we billed for 37 days just for setting equipment on 2 levels on the first day. We billed $12,000 for that, and we got it. Now, if you don't have a hydroxyl generator, and they're not giving these things away,
How much is a hydroxyl generator roughly? What's the market price for one of those things? And what's
I think it's
what's your break-even point if you use it on a project? Do you break even if you used it daily? Would you break even in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think it's north of $3,000.
Oh, you'd break even in a week. Yeah.
Generator. Yeah. So we have 6 of them at our shop, and there's times when they're all in the field. I mean, you're doing 3 homes at the same time, and you just happen to have them all in use. They are used for more than just fire, but they do a good job on odor. And I discuss how a thermal generator, hydroxyl generator works in the book as well. So, and then sometimes on a catastrophic fire, you don't have electricity yet. You've got to get temporary power brought in. So now you're using your own generators, taking a picture of them daily while you're on site, cleaning equipment, filters, all of this stuff is profitable. You have to do it. You have to have it, but it's profitable. And that's phase 1.
Right. Let's talk about the money for a second here. Like, how profitable can it be? Like, how much money can you make? You don't have to make, maybe in terms of percent. Like, let's say, if the revenue for a project is 100%, what's your cost? How much profit can you take from a given fire or odor service?
So a good standard in the restoration industry is that your labor expenses do not exceed 20% of the invoice. Yeah. Yes. And, you want to get that number under that if you can. And then if you can clear 20% net profit, then that's a good thing as well too. And so you're doing a $40,000 job, 20% net profit,
under 20% labor is part of your cost. And that's in general, or for this particular service in specifically?
That is in general. Fire is more profitable.
Oh, it is.
Fire can be more profitable. So how much labor did it take to set 2 hydroxyls and I will do this. So, if it's a catastrophic fire and all of the contents are lost, then obviously you don't do this piece of it.
Right. What's the point of clearing it up if you're going to demolish the whole thing? Right.
Yeah. Yes. But, stovetop fires, small fire, like in a bedroom, someone had a candle and they were doing something with candles and it tipped over and, here you got a fire in the room, but the rest of the home is like unaffected. Most of them are going to be like that. Now, if it's like horrendously burned, then maybe it's going to be a knockdown at that point, and there is nothing for the mitigation company to do.
But how do you decide those? How do you decide whether it's a knockdown and whether it's is it your own? Are you working with the adjuster in that case, or is it just experience, or is it you're calling Bob or you to say, hey, what do you guys think? I mean, how do you make that determination?
It's the adjuster's call if it's going to be a knockdown. Now, we might show up and say, this is a knockdown, but we're not the ones who make the official call. It's the insurance companies who do that. Like when they have that event down at the Palisades in Los Angeles last year, they were burned to the ground. I mean, all that's left is just the concrete foundation. Well, there's nothing for a company like mine to do on a loss like that. There's just nothing we can do. There's nothing to save. There's nothing to mitigate. It's a complete loss. Yeah. But again, on the first day, you absolutely positively want to go into this doing these essential items. They are profitable. It helps the morale of the homeowner. It improves the air quality so that when they're coming in and out over the period of time that it takes to get all the contents out, that that they have good air quality.
And just to make a quick point, in case some folks are new to the hydroxyl technology, one of the things that Bob said a little bit ago was about the introduction of air filtration into it. But what's also important about hydroxyl use versus ozone is you need air movement. So that's where there's 2 points or 2 purposes of that air scrubber. It's filtering the air, but it's also moving the air that has the hydroxyl radicals in there. So those 2 pieces go together in that instance.
Right. Yeah, true. Yeah. And we will set one on one side of the level and one maybe on the other side, but we get that air movement. We've got the filtration. The hydroxyl is emitting ions that are interacting with odor particles. The filter, so it's going out. The HEPA filter is drawing it in, and it's just filtering out the solids, as it were. And it works well. We have used this so many times. We've paid for our systems 6 times over by now, and but you got to put them in the vehicle before you go. You don't want to show up and not have them, and maybe bring them the next day, because now you've lost.
Gotcha. You want to bring it with you. Yeah, got it. You lose your time. You lose another day of using it. Yep.
Yeah.
Show up with it.
Yep.
Yeah. Dude, is this not often used? Is it a piece of equipment that some will use and some won't? Because there's an investment,
well,
so some might try to not.
Yes, and there's people that don't have them at all. And I tell them
it's a missed opportunity, really, for them.
Yeah. I think it's critical that the airspace is protected. Now, the day the pack out is done, the day it's done, we pull that equipment, because now we're going in. We can have PPE, we can have respirators, we've got gloves, we are protected. So you cannot run these systems the entire time you're doing the mitigation. You don't have a good argument there. The argument for running them initially, see, we can't clean the house until the pack out's done. We can't do surface cleaning. I can't do anything else until the contents are out. So the excuse for, lack of a better word, for running these is that we are protecting the insured during the time that they're coming into the home, back and forth, working with the pack out people, gathering some of their own stuff to take out, and they're coming back and forth. After all the contents are out, they have no reason to come back, and they don't come back until we're done. So pull the equipment, and that supports your position that this is for the insured. This is why we're doing it, for the insured.
Got it. So what would you say, Bob, what would be if you're starting or you want to get into this line of work, fire and odor, you haven't done it yet, what are maybe some of the keys to getting started or keys to being successful that will separate you from someone else who isn't doing it very well, or who isn't making money doing these services? What are some of the keys to being successful?
Having some good mentors,
okay,
having a process to follow, having proper chemistry, proper processes. All of these things can be taught. A person ice cold could take my book, and they would be able to do everything that I'm describing. Safety-wise, PPE, even where to get the stuff. So it isn't just, you just use this kind of chemistry. Wonderful. Where do I get it? Well, I describe all of that. There's a website that actually goes with my book. The book is something that we intend to update every 2 years, but the website is updated, daily if it needs to be in real time.
And what's the website, Bob, for our viewers?
Yeah, themitigationhandbook.com. So it's just like a book. So the book is the Mitigation Handbook. The website is themitigationhandbook.com.
Got it.
And in that, we describe all sorts of stuff. And just really quickly, there's an app that is attached to the website that for persons who have a copy of the book, then we will provide to them the password to the app, and then it gives a condensed version of what you've already learned in the book, so that you make sure that you take what you need to the field and you don't forget stuff. So we tell them what to take and what the chemistry is, and then the rest of the website tells them where to get it. So, Artemis is in my book. They're the backbone chemical formulator supplier to us. We use their products more than any other manufacturer. Anything you can think of: fire, mold, biohazard, duct cleaning, you name it.
Shampoo? No, not for shampoo, I don't think.
No, we're not using it for shampoo, but there's just a whole arsenal, and you can't get these things in the stores. They're licensed technology from Sandia National Laboratories. I actually worked with the national laboratories in my pre-mitigation life. I mean, these are sharp people. I mean, I've been to these labs. They're, like everybody's like a PhD and above, it seems like.
Right. Well, one of the things, Bob, I really enjoy is obviously with your technical background with aerospace and defense, and then in chemistry, I think you appreciate and what's remarkable about that two-part formula developed out of Sandia National Labs.
I do, very much so. And I've talked to the technical people back at Artemis, Clay as well, of course. And they send me technical papers, and I get a chance to read really what the science behind what they're doing is all about. So we have great confidence using these items, and we use them on fire. I mean, we absolutely use them on fire jobs. And we used to use other systems.
Yeah, there's a lot of good products out there that can work, but not all of them are the two-part formula for Sandia Labs, and that's what's
correct. Yes, that's exactly right. And we also, the Artemis products are the backbone for sure of our illicit drug cleanup work. Now, that's a different subject.
Right.
I just did meth testing at a location yesterday, and the week before I was at a military base doing fentanyl testing. Artemis produces training courses for this, and I've been to those courses, and my teams have been to those courses, and they're the best on the planet. And absolutely mandatory in my mind to attend those courses if you're going to do that type of work.
Yeah.
Here in Washington State, we do have state requirements on testing and remediation. Other states, they have nothing. Other states have mold requirements. We don't have any of that out here in Washington. So it's just different from state to state.
Yep.
But,
yep. Well, that's a topic for another time, and we'd love to have you back on and talk about Decon Force 100 and some of the approaches that we have for destroying meth. It's been wildly successful in that arena, and would love to talk to you more about that.
Way successful, yes.
Well, thank you for giving us some insight on the 4 areas for fire and odor and the 6 steps for walking through a project. We talked about how successful you can be, and we really encourage those who watch to get started. And you can contact us, contact Bob, go to the mitigationhandbook.com and get started making a good profit, adding this line of business to your portfolio of services you offer.
Appreciate your time, Bob. Thank you very much.
Good to be with you guys. And, we actually only went through phase one, but phases 2, 3, and 4, they're all in the book. And we'd be more than happy to help anybody through it. It's been a joy to be with you guys today. And we like to see anybody out there doing a good job and with good materials and good processes.
That's why we're in this business. We all care about the same thing. We want people to be successful and have an impact on people's lives.
Well said. Sure.
Well said, David. Thank you, Bob, so much.